What's going on, everybody? We are live. Um, just seen the intro there. Got the horror YouTuber of the month nominees, and I'm gonna bring in my guest tonight. One of the nominees, all the way across the pond. It is pretty late for him, but I want to thank him for doing this. We got Mike, the real fifth Beatle. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Good, man. It's always late when I stream, so
That is true. Yeah, it's a weird time. What is it? It's like a 5 hour difference, right?
Yeah, it's just after midnight in the UK. But
Yeah.
I always stream at midnight. So because like most of my subscribers are kind of like on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few subscribers in the UK, but because like I kind of like started doing streams on Piz's Patreon stream. So obviously a lot of Piz's subs who watches live streams, on that sort of time zone. So I think a lot of people kind of like moved over, when I started streaming. A lot of people kind of came over from seeing me on his streams. So yeah, it's like, yeah, most people who do subscribe to me are kind of like on that East Coast time, with a few UK's guys in the UK. But it's a nice time to stream because it's not too insanely late for people in the UK, and it's a nice time for people on the East Coast as well, because like 7 p.m. is like prime time viewing, right? So
Yeah. Let's see. We got shout out in the chat here. Jay the Stingray. What's up, Jay? Got Bunny Army. Sorry, seen him from in your chats.
yeah, Bunny's spot on. Bunny's good guy.
You got Slasher Home Video. What's going on, Chris? Mrs. Erica Lauren Horn Mason. Don't know who that is. Never seen you before, but thanks for being here. And let's see. I'm glad that intro's got you hyped there, Bunny Army. Got the Rated G superstar Garrett from Born to Be Rad. What's going on, Garrett? And Ben Grimm. How are you doing, sir? Well, this is just started. We got horror YouTuber of the month voting's going on now, and I kind of wanted to bring everybody on the channel, I guess, and just chat with them because I don't know if we've ever been on a stream together.
I don't think so. No, I don't think we have. No,
No, and
I
I
know.
know.
I've seen you a lot, obviously, on Jay streams, but usually you're on those sort of like real late night streams. Not late night for me, because it's like usually like 7 a.m.,
Yeah,
6 a.m. But it's the sort of, when you're streaming, I'm like just waking up, so I'm just lying in bed, just on my phone. I'm not gonna like go and I'm not gonna go and sit behind a computer. Just to go. It's just easy just to sit in the chat. But yeah, yeah. So and I don't. We've never been on a live stream together, no.
no, I know I seen like in the beginning before, I started this, seen you a lot on when Tiz would do his Patreon streams and stuff, which streams during the week don't work for me because I work night shifts. So, I'm at work when everybody's streaming. So, but yeah, I mean, I've been watch your stuff on Tuesdays and stuff, and a lot of times I'm at work. Sometimes when I can, I join in the chat, but I'm usually just watching incognito there. But yeah, just kind of want to talk a bit, and this is I'm pretty excited to talk with you because I never got to talk to somebody from the UK about how different things in the horror genre. Probably not they're not different now, but growing up back in the day with the video nasties and like Hammer films and stuff. So I think this should be a
Well,
good conversation.
well, I mean, obviously, a big difference between obviously the UK and the US is like, you know, coming from a UK point of view, the over on your side of the pond, it's been quite. My interpretation of it and go, in the States is you've got quite an easygoing attitude to violence, but whereas we've got quite an easygoing attitude to sex and nudity. Whereas you like, we're kind of like, not traditionally anyway. It's like in the UK, the violence is like the big fear. It's like, oh, violence, violence, violence. We don't want violence. We don't want guns. We don't want people getting killed. But sex, nudity, we don't really care about that sort of stuff. Whereas on your side of the pond, it's like there's always been this fear of like sex. Sex is always like the big no-no, but violence is perfectly okay. So I think straight away there's two big sort of differences between the UK, Europe in general. I mean, in Europe, I mean, Americans kind of feel that like the Europeans' attitude to sex is quite sort of like liberal. We don't really care about nudity and sex. I would say that in the UK, we're not quite as liberal as the rest of Europe. I mean, so however liberal we are compared to the US, if you go to Holland or like maybe like a couple of other European countries, they are way more liberal than us. If you go to Amsterdam in Holland, you've literally got live sex shows in full view walking down, and obviously you go to Amsterdam, it's like
Yeah.
cannabis is just legal. You can smoke a joint, go watch a live sex show. Holland is like ultra like liberal, relaxed. We're kind of like not quite to that level, but when it comes to like sex and nudity, we are kind of like not as kind of straight laced as the US. But when it comes to violence, yeah, you're more when it comes to violence on TV and in movies, I think in America you are like more, you're more. We're kind of like behind the times when it comes to that sort of shit. But
Uh, yeah, yeah, I would agree, and I never really thought about it, but like going back, which, I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm a massive Hammer fan. I've seen a few, but one of my favorites, Hammer, which I haven't seen that many, but it's the Vampire Lovers. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that one's kind of like a porno. So a lot of nudity and sex and that. So going back, that makes sense, but I've never really thought about that until you said something, until you brought that up, which is a good point. Which I think in America we're just more. I mean, I guess violence is just a part of like pop culture and all kinds of stuff. So we're kind of numb to it, I guess, in a way. But this one thing I would like want to add, like first thing I want to ask is like, so because you're a little bit older than me, I believe, but what got you into the genre horror itself?
well, so I'm 45. So are you like how old are you, G?
I'm 31. Yeah,
Okay, so I'm older, but it's not like too
not
big a. Yeah, you probably have a similar upbringing to me in
yeah.
terms of like how you got into the genre. So born in '76, went to school, as a kid, like, and then I think the whole horror thing kicked in started high school. I suppose does high school like in the UK? High school starts when you're like 11 or 12
Oh,
in
really?
the UK. Yeah. So what? So when I say high school, I'm talking
Like middle
like
schoolish, kind of
yeah
for us.
that yeah. I suppose. I mean, I'm not entirely sure the terminology in America,
Yeah.
but in the UK, high school tends to mean like 11, 12 years old. So yeah, so 11, 12 years old, start high school, meet new. It's like starting high school means you go to a completely different school and meet new people. So you're meeting new friends. You're saying goodbye to old friends who you went to up until 10, 11. because the school I went to when I started high school was it was a lot of kids who I grew up with up until that point went to a different school. So I kind of like met a load of new friends. Um, but my parents were quite strict about what I watched as a kid. They weren't like really down with me watching 18. I'll just explain now. So in the UK, you've got PG movies. This is in the 80s anyway. You had like PG movies, 15s, which means you have to be 15, and 18s. So you have to be 18 to watch the films. So my mum and dad were quite strict growing up. Well, it's more my mum. My mum didn't like me watching like real. Even though they weren't that violent, she was just kind of like brainwashed into thinking all these films are like just going to corrupt you, turn you into like a psychopathic killer.
Mm-hmm.
So she was kind of like one of those you know she wasn't like a Bible Belt type mum. She went to church and shit like, but she wasn't like that religious. But she was kind of like of that mentality where she thought if like I watched, these so-called violent horror films, it would corrupt me. So my dad didn't really give a shit, but he just did what she said basically. But I had like friends. So when I started high school, like 11, 12, like this is like 1988 going into 89.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of friends who were twin. They were twin brothers, so like two brothers who were twins, and they were like my best friends starting new school. And we used to have like sleepovers, so we'd have sleepovers, and even though their mum was like religious, she didn't give two shits what they watched. So be just like when I'd stay over at their house on a weekend, be Friday night, it'd be straight to the video store, and this is like 88, 89, so this is prime video store time. This is before Blockbuster. This is just independent video stores, and we were just like as kids who were like 12, 13 years old, didn't know what we were picking up, didn't have a clue about what was popular. We knew who Freddy Krueger was. We had a vague idea who Jason Voorhees was, because he was, you've got to take into account this is before the internet. Freddy was kind of like making waves in the mainstream. Jason wasn't really doing. I don't know what it was like for you guys. I mean, this is probably a bit before your time, Jake. But in the late '80s, I'm not entirely sure what waves Jason was making into the mainstream. Freddy was really making a big deal in the mainstream.
I mean, I wasn't around at that time, but just from like documentaries and reading shit, at that time, that was really peak Freddy time, because Freddy kind of ruled the box office
Yeah,
from that time, and Jason and Michael, they were more early to mid 80s. So yeah,
yeah,
Freddy was definitely
yeah.
popular here then.
I mean, it just going back to to that point in the late '80s. Obviously, yeah, Freddie was just like everywhere. Freddie was like, the thing with Freddie was kind of like MTV friendly. So because Freddie spoke, Freddie had a personality. Jason was kind of like just this, this obviously a guy in a mask who didn't speak. So he was less appealing to like pop culture at that time. Obviously, as time's gone on, it's like it's kind of done a 180, and Jason is now like the cool guy. Freddy's just this irrelevant sort of like just non-entity. But going back to the late '80s, in terms of like just getting into like horror movies, I've just come completely off topic now, but go back
No, you're
to
good. You're good.
yeah. So basically, my best friends were twin brothers. Their mum allowed them to rent anything out they wanted, and we just went down like just into like a sort of a deep
Rabbit
hole
hole.
of like rabbit hole. That's the right word.
No.
Of just like Friday the 13th movies, Sleepaway Camp movies. I think Sleepaway Camp 2 dropped the year we started just discovering horror movies. It was 88, although it was actually called Nightmare Vacation in the UK. And that was one of my funniest. It's a funny story. It's like just like the idea that like I've got these two friends who were 12 years old, and their mum is like very very religious, even though she lets them watch horror films. And then we watched Sleepaway Camp 2 as 12-year-old kids on a Friday night, staying over at their house. And it's Sleepaway Camp 2. It's just got like, a fair bit of like nudity in it. And we're just sit there, you can imagine, what it's like to be a 12-year-old kid,
Oh yeah.
12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid, hormones are raging, and we're sat there, 12-year-old kids, 13-year-old kids, with a middle-aged Christian woman who, for some reason, is okay with us watching horror movies. But then she realizes these horror movies have quite a lot of nudity in them. So we're all just sat there watching Sleepaway Camp 2 with a certain scene in a shower cubicle. And then another scene, with quite a lot of nudity. And we're all just sat there going, oh, shit, this is really awkward. It's just one of those.
Yeah. I was a little bit like, for me, kind of more the same, but well, mine was more like gateway, like Monster Squad. Watched that a lot growing up, and then that turned in my interest in that turned into growing up in the 90s. Goosebumps were massive, and so I kind of took from that, and then my brother liked the stuff too. So, and of course, video stores played a ginormous part in just, being able to go to the video store and pick something based on the cover and go home and watch it was great. But how was video stores in the UK? Because you got the video nasties, and a lot of this stuff might have been released, but they weren't the versions that were here in America. They were cut, slightly censored and cut, and it wasn't until probably the mid 2000s y'all got a lot of these uncut versions of these movies, right?
Yeah, it's really strange because, like, a lot of the video nasties from the 80s were like kind of banned in the UK and maybe got released in the 90s. But like they were still, even though they were banned, you could go into a video store in the UK in like the mid 80s. And if you looked up on the top shelf, it's not like America where the hardcore movies or the softcore porn movies were behind the curtain. They were just on full display in the UK.
Oh, really?
So if you oh yeah. So even though Texas Chainsaw Massacre was banned, a movie which with like full nudity, like pretty much near enough hardcore pornography, was able to be rented.
Now,
Which,
I got a question about Texas Chainsaw when we get done here because I'm curious. But continue.
No, yeah, like I say, it's like if you walked into an independent video store in the UK in the like late 80s, if you walked in, this is like pre-Blockbuster. Blockbuster didn't really get their sort of like claws into it until the 1990s. So the late 80s, when I was a kid, I've said this story before. Where I'm from, like, I'm from Liverpool, which is a fairly decent size. It's probably like something like the size of Pittsburgh. It's a pretty big city.
Mm-hmm.
Even by America, it's like 600,000 people. So it's not like I was like living in like the middle of nowhere. So like I come out of my house, walk down the road, there'd be like an independent video store. I walk up the road, there'd be another independent video store. So whichever one you want, whichever one you went to, you'd walk in. It'd only be very, very small. They wouldn't be like Blockbuster. They'd be very, very small, But that made them all.
I guess we would call them like mom and pops in the States, is what we'd call them.
Yeah. So independently owned, and they'd be very small, very personal. You'd know the owner or whoever worked there, and you'd have like interactions with them. It's not like maybe like the way Blockbuster became a bit like Walmart, sort of like kind of like you didn't really know who was working there. This was very sort of like you knew who worked there. You know, you'd ask them for recommendations about movies, and also they sold video games as well, which was really cool. So you'd walk in and like, my local video store was that you'd walk in, even though it was very small. The first aisle would be all new releases. You'd walk to the left, there'd all be your horror films, and then like your adult films would be on the top row. And then you go to the right hand side, and you had all the video games. And video games back in them days, just like Commodore 64, Spectrum. I don't know if you had Spectrum in the US, maybe not.
No,
Yeah, but you had Commodore 64, right?
I think
I,
so. I
I
might
think
be
that.
two before. I remember like Nintendo and
Oh yeah, this is like just actual computer, not consoles, like actual computer games.
games. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think
I've heard
yeah,
of Commodore 64, but
yeah. But yeah, it was like so. Yeah, it was one of them. You'd walk in, very personal, you know. But the one downfall, obviously, I think one of the reasons why Blockbuster made a killing in terms of like why it was successful is like I can't vouch for like you guys on your side of the pond, but walking into these independent video stores back in the day, if a new release came, if a new movie came out, they'd only have like maybe 2 copies of it. So if you didn't get there first, you'd never get the copy. Blockbuster, when they opened, they'd have like 20 copies of like the latest release, and that's one of the reasons they probably killed off the independent video stores. Certainly in our country, I mean, you walk into Blockbuster, and if like go back to the early 90s, one of my earliest recollections of Blockbuster was maybe a movie like maybe it's like Speed.
mm-hmm.
Back in '94, they'd have like 25, 30 copies of that film. You go to your independent store and you'd ask for Speed or like Demolition Man or something like that from the early 90s, and it's gone now. We've only got 2 copies. It's rented out. And it's like, okay then. So it's like I better go
Yeah,
to Blockbuster then.
yeah. It's the same case for the states, but like for me personally, growing up, I'm in a really small town, but growing up, I had a mom and pop store, um, directly across the street from me, and being a young kid, even like 7, 8, I was able to go in there, rent whatever I wanted, no problem. But it's the same. We had a different chain, like a big chain called Movie Gallery, is what we had, which was the big chain in this area. But yeah, it was the same. Like they new releases, you got 20 copies of Titanic compared to maybe 1 copy here at my mom and pop. So if you wanted them big studio releases, you definitely had to go to them bigger chains like Blockbuster. Um, but I was never a Blockbuster guy, and I'm curious, not curious, but that's interesting to know that y'all had Blockbusters over there. I figured y'all would have like a UK version of like a
No,
big
no.
chain.
Don't forget, like, Jake. I mean, like, America's influence on the UK is massive. So it's like, the chain that destroyed independent video stores in the UK with Blockbuster. You know, if pizza chains, if independent pizza chains are going to be destroyed in the UK, it's going to be Papa John's, Domino's, Pizza Hut. It's America. America, like, I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, but it's a saying that it's very popular in the UK, especially amongst like the news channels. It's like ah, if America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold. It's like as in like the influence of America on the rest of the world is so enormous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, Blockbuster was like that was the company that destroyed independent video stores. I mean, obviously it's an American company, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting as well is that it's like Blockbuster's almost like attain this sort of like nostalgic, romantic I did for the 90s, where it's like they were the big bad guys. They
Yeah,
were never the good. They were never the good guys. They were like they were like the Amazon Prime of the 90s.
yeah,
But
because
they've kind of gained this sort of like nostalgic element to them.
which is weird because like I never like the closest Blockbuster to me was probably an hour away. So I'm not really nostalgic for Blockbuster so much as like just the video store in general. But it's just weird seeing people be nostalgic for it when they killed mom and pop stores. Like and no matter what anybody says, like you wasn't gonna go into a Blockbuster and find like uh, off the top of my head, like a house two or something
Yeah,
there. They wouldn't
yeah.
carry that. Your mom and pop is what, carried that stuff. And one second.
The porn bots are taking over, and I am now running Jake's channel apparently. Or am I?
Oh, no,
Okay.
it's me. I accidentally hit the wrong button. Um, if I got any mods in the chat, can you please take care of the sexy bot we got in here? I think Orc, you should have a wrench. Maybe Jamie, I don't remember, but one of you take care of that, please. But yeah, it's just like Blockbuster killed all that, and you was never gonna find the stuff that you were actually looking for, the stuff you discovered at mom and pops, um,
Yeah.
at places like that. But I've gotten way behind on the chat here. Let's see. Hold on.
The sex bots are taking over.
It has. Big T movie gallery. Is that? No, I want to say it was south. Well, at least for my speaking, I'm in the south, so we had them there. So south, maybe northeast. Yep, sexy bot time for sure. Damn, so popular, even the sex bot showed up. I know it. Let's see. Big Croc Rock's in here. What's going on? Orc, what's going on? I'm so far behind on chat. I'm not even going to try to catch up. I'm just going to say hi. What's going on, Jamie? Let's see. Not bad. If you make. Oh, okay. Let me see if I can do this right here. How do I do it? Right, like right now, Jamie. Do you know? Maybe I can do it like this.
I think if you click on actual icon, and
I
then
got
just
it. I think I gave you a moderator. Let me know if that worked, Jamie. Miss Erica here, Montgomery, Alabama. We had a movie gallery in Blockbuster, and now I'm living in Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah, so I guess movie gallery was a southern thing for the most part. But along with the with the video nasties, still like, was it kind of hard for you guys to like get a copy of like Evil Dead or like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Dawn of the Dead, or was they just available in cut versions?
Regarding Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I don't think that was available to the 90s.
Now, interesting. I hate to don't mean to cut you off, but like for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre specifically, was it later until like the 90s or whenever it finally came out over there that you actually got to see it?
Yeah,
Man,
it's hard to remember exactly. I mean, I remember seeing Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the big screen in '97. Now, I think the reason it was released in '97 is because that's when it was finally given an actual, official release. I think that's the reason it was shown on the big screen, is because it was after all them years, which would be like at that point 24, 25 years. So I think that's why the occasion was to show it on the big screen, because it was such an important film. So because it had been banned for so long, rather than just release it onto a DVD or a VHS, they actually put the film on the big screen as kind of like a celebration. And I went to see the film on the big screen, so that's kind of lucky in a way, because to actually see Texas Chainsaw Massacre on a big screen with a crowd of people was it was a great thing. Regarding like other films like Evil Dead, I honestly don't know. I honestly, there was so many films in those. There's so many films in the early '80s which were like came under that video nasties umbrella. I honestly can't remember when I saw. I mean, I watched Black Christmas in the early 2000s. Now that could now I'm not entirely sure whether that came under the umbrella of video nasty,
Mm-hmm.
but the great thing about the internet, which is like, well, there's good things and bad things about the internet. The great thing about the internet is a film like Black Christmas. I had no idea it even existed until the internet. Like early 2000s, discovered Amazon did rental Amazon, for the younger generation who don't know what life was like before streaming services, having to like rent movies online because a lot of it. So that's the great thing. There's a really this like weird between streaming and going to physical video store. Before that time, there existed like this time where people would rent DVDs online, and it was only a short period of time, really, because obviously, streaming took hold in the late 2000s, but in the early to mid 2000s, physical stores were dying off. So people were like renting physical media off Amazon and other websites, and it's kind of like it's something that a lot of people kind of forget ever existed. But I discovered so many horror films off Amazon. Just Black Christmas. I never knew that film existed. Never knew that film existed until about 2004. It just,
Really?
yeah, because it was like a film that like it was never shown on TV in the UK. It was probably so. It was probably never even on the video nasties list because it was a film that like was probably flew under the radar completely for anyone in the UK. And it was only when you go to like early 2000s and you log into Amazon and you start renting movies and getting sent to your house. And it's like you rent a movie and then you get suggestions. If you like this, why not try this? And I think I just saw Black Christmas pop up and I was like, what? And I just looked at the synopsis, whatever. I was like, this sounds like a fucking good film. I was like, never heard of this film before. 1974. It's like, fucking hell. Rented it off Amazon, got it sent through the post, 2 days, 3 days delivery to turn up. Watched the film, was fucking blown away by it. And obviously, this is like 2004, 2003, maybe, I want to talk about this film. And then it's old school, isn't it? It's not old school by I say it's old school. I'm 45. It's not even old school. It's old school maybe by someone who's a lot younger than me. But
Yeah.
it's like there's no Facebook, there's no Twitter. So how do you talk about this film? You have to go looking for like internet chat rooms and forums and shit like
Like,
that.
yeah, forums were real big around that time. I remember
Yeah,
I was fairly young, but forums were a big part in them early days, and especially like you're bringing up Amazon from, I guess you was rent physical from there from the UK, but was Netflix not a thing there yet? Because I know
no,
for me, like it was my early high school, maybe, I don't know, I was probably 15ish, but when Netflix came on the scene and did the mail order movies, like it exposed me to a lot of things that I had always read in Fangoria or seen kind of on the internet at the time, like Cannibal Holocaust and stuff like that, where I was actually able to rent the movie and actually view it for the first time. So them played a major part, but you're right. They really didn't last that long until streaming really kicked
yeah.
into gear on that.
Yeah, I don't think Netflix was a big thing I think in the early 2000s when the whole like renting movies online, it was Amazon, and we had a company called Love Film, which may have been a British thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think Netflix was not a thing. I could be wrong, but I think Netflix became a thing in like maybe late 2000s. in the UK. But Amazon was always the go-to sort of website to go to if you wanted to rent online DVDs. And obviously, once the internet speeds improved, that's when Netflix came in and Amazon started doing their thing. But I miss those days, and I can't let you miss those days. I miss those days of like just taking a punt on a movie and like not knowing anything about it. Because obviously nowadays you just go online and obviously the internet existed back then, but the internet
Hmm.
was not. It wasn't like it is now. There's a lot less talk, and you know the websites that existed back then. It's nothing to the level it is now.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask you this question because this is kind of how I feel. Going back to like video stores and even renting, being able to rent physical media videos from the mail. You think like in them time, when you went to that video store, when you rented that movie from the mail, you had to watch it. You didn't really have. You might have had some options, but you had to watch it. Now I
Yeah,
feel like streaming kind of waters that down a lot, where there's just so many options that you really there's not a tie for you to say, all right, I'm picking this movie to watch and I have to watch it. It's, well, if I don't like it in the first 5 minutes, I can just go on to the next.
I don't think it's affected movies as much as it has music.
Mm.
Realistically, I think movies, it's affected movies to a point where it's like, speaking from experience, a movie is like a 2 hour commitment. You watch a movie, even if you're not enjoying it, you'll just stick it through, and if you like it, you like it, and then you might, if you're streaming it, you might make a commitment to buy it physically. I think streaming has really impacted music more than anything, because music's it takes time. If you it's like back in the day, you buy an album. If you spent like $10, $15, £20, whatever your currency, it's like you've spent that money, and when you first listen to that album, even if it's one of your favorite bands, it might take a bit of commitment to really get every little aspect of that album.
Hmm.
Now, if you take into account streaming now, imagine it's a band you're not even that in. Imagine it's a band you're not even a big fan of. Now, if you don't physically purchase that album, and you're not putting any sort of like profit into it, any sort of like, you know, where's your why would you even take the time to like get through the album and like get listen to it multiple times? You might do it with a band you love. You might, you probably would take the time to like put the effort in. Gonna listen to. I'm going to listen to this album 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Ultimately, I might enjoy it, but we all have, back before streaming. There was albums we just like discovered, and we just enjoyed, and we got on board with, and then we would have purchased. But just with streaming now, it's like, if you're not like if you're not like down with like that artist immediately, you're just going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's, a lot of people now, like with especially with music now, it's like people have playlists
Hmm.
rather than albums. It's just a playlist, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, because I feel like back in them time, even you know, I was old enough where that's buying physical CDs, but there was my early teen years, where we're downloading music and making playlists on CD. But I feel like when you bought an album, there's a commitment there, because you
Yeah,
spent $10, $15, whatever it was, on this physical copy of this album, and you had to listen to it all the way through, because it's not like you can just go buy 5, 6 albums and listen to whatever you wanted to at that time.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
but um And
Well, that's
okay,
why that's why musicians now, if you look at the musicians from like the 90s, the 80s, you know, they're multi millionaires. I mean, how many of the musicians, only the very, very top few now are probably making real good money,
yeah. Um, Another thing, I guess I wanted to ask you about UK. We'll talk a little bit about Hammer. I gotta imagine, growing up in the UK, Universal monsters were probably still front and center. But was there more? I guess I can say, are you like more nostalgic, or is there a deeper connection to like the Universal monsters or Hammer? Because Hammer was making movies in the 30s, and it wasn't. I think 57 they made the first Frankenstein movie. Then 58 they made Dracula with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. So I guess, are you more? What do you prefer? Do you prefer the Universal monsters in the from over here, or is it more Hammer Dracula? Is like
I,
just
I'll be honest with you, I'm not a massive fan of either.
really?
I'm not a massive fan of either, to be honest with you.
You're not a fan of either, really?
Yeah, no, I've just, yeah, I mean, really, I've never been a massive fan of. I know it's kids could be kids.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not. Jake, I've never been a big fan of that era of horror. To be honest, like I've not never been a big Hammer fan. I've never been a big Universal fan. I'll be honest.
Really?
Yeah, it's just not my thing.
Okay, well, I guess I can ask because I'm kind of in the same boat as you. As it's not, but I grew up on 80s slashers and all that. So that's what I love. 90s trash. That's what I love. But as I get older, my taste kind of it changes. I think with like all of us does. And last Halloween, I bought the Universal box set and I watched a few and I enjoyed them. So that's something I might dive into. But so is okay. I guess is like Hammer Dracula, is Christopher Lee Dracula in the UK, or is Lugosi, or is it just they're
Oh,
both there?
it's Christopher Lee, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I probably would, get on board with like, yeah, I probably do need to just like, rewatch or watch. You got something behind you, Jake.
yeah, I know.
You know what? That freaked me out for a minute. It was like something out of a horror film. It's just like when you see like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I do really need to like probably just get on board with like the Hammer stuff. It's just something. It's the thing is though. It's like I'm old, but it's something that was way before my time.
yeah, and
It's like it's something like my parents' time. You know,
yeah. And there's so much. Like I've seen Dracula, some of the Dracula stuff, like Satanic Rites of Dracula, some of that stuff with Christopher Lee because I love Christopher Lee as an actor and Peter Cushing. But there's just so much of that Hammer stuff. Like it's you kind of got to pick, and there's just so much. What do you pick? You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it's like I'm trying to start making my way through Giallo films because
Oh,
that stuff that just completely bypassed me as a kid, and as
really?
a well, yeah. I mean, as even as an adult, it's only when I started really getting onto like watching, sausage party, like Lorne and Piers
Mm-hmm.
talking about shit like that, and I was like, okay, there's this genre of horror I've never even like really looked into. So I started like I've been making my way into the Giallo films, and I watched Suspiria, which is not a Giallo film, as Lorne told me. I didn't know. I thought it was. Apparently, it's not.
You
But
can make an argument, I think, but I get where he's coming from.
yeah, I mean, I watched Suspiria like 15, 20 years ago, but it's only in the last 5 years I've started watching like the Argento
More.
stuff, and then more into like the Fulci and people like that. And it's just nice to see something a little bit different.
Oh yeah, and yeah, we'll talk about that here in a second. I just don't want to get too bogged down here. Christian's in the house. What's going on, Christian? Christian says they're acquired taste. They took a while to get into. Heats up the Christopher Lee Hammer era Dracula now. Yeah, I'm just so far behind. Orc, what's going on, Orc? I don't know what you're saying. All right, I don't know if it's something about porn stars. Oh yeah, S'mores Indoors is doing a porn star something later tonight. But let's see. Is it Satanic Rites of Dracula where he gets defeated with a thorn bush? Is it? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen it. I know it's got Christopher Lee. I got it on VHS somewhere over there. But Italian, yeah. How was Italian stuff banned in the UK back in the 80s?
No.
I
don't think. I mean, it's difficult for me to say completely because obviously I was like a kid, but with just the lack of no internet and just I can't imagine. Like I say, I'm guessing, but I honestly can't imagine that. Apart from the complete diehards of like cinema, nobody would have been aware of Italian cinema in the 80s in the UK. It's just unfathomable. It's just before the internet, like anything beyond just the ultimate complete mainstream was just completely out of reach to most people. Which I think it's difficult for people to grasp their heads around. It's like what in the UK in the 80s, I suppose it's similar to like being in the US in the 80s. What we got was basically mainstream UK TV, and we got a lot of American TV, Dallas, Dynasty, Hill Street Blues, stuff like that. We got pretty much your mainstream TV and whatever they were making for us. Nobody in the UK was watching Italian horror films in the 80s.
Okay. I guess that kind of makes sense because, one of the reasons why I kind of asked is because, if you go back and you watch some of this Italian stuff, it's pretty violent. Compared to, that's why I'm gonna. But I'm glad you're getting into giallos because, myself, that's kind of some. I had seen, growing up, I had seen some Italian stuff. I seen Zombie, Fulci, that VHS cover etched in my mind from the video stores as a kid. So, I seen that. But in the last 3 or 4 years, I've really taken a big liking to Italian cinema and giallos. And I guess I asked what giallos you've seen so far, and I kind of recommend some if you haven't seen them yet. But what giallos have you been watching?
Well, I mean, literally, obviously, the Animals trilogy, in terms of like Argento, the Animals trilogy, Tenebrae, Inferno.
Deep Red?
Not seen Deep Red yet. I've not seen it. Everyone says I need to see Deep Red, and I've not seen it.
Deep Red's great. I love Deep Red, but still, to me, Tenebrae is my favorite Argento giallo. But Deep Red's worth to watch.
I definitely prefer Tenebrae to Inferno. To me, is just too out there. It just doesn't. I'm just like thinking, what is going on in this film? It's just too. Tenebrae is a lot more structured. Makes a lot more sense. Inferno is a lot more. I suppose it's like you make of it what you will. It's kind of like it's interpretation. Maybe is a lot of it. I watched a really good. Blood and Black Lace is just fantastic. Gotta say, absolutely fantastic movie. Like 68, is it? Is it 63? I can't.
It's Blood. Hold on, I got it right over here. If I can, I'll tell you. If I can find it real quick. It's somewhere over here. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's in the 60 something. It's got to be. I'll say if you haven't seen this, I'm trying to see what year this is from. It's got to be 70. I think it's 76. Let me make sure before I sound like an idiot. If I can find it here. Yeah, 73 is Torso is Sergio Martino. I don't know if you've seen this. Is my favorite Jello of all time so far, which I haven't seen a lot, but it's a really good one. I highly recommend. Torso.
I think that's on YouTube as well, just to watch. So
It probably is. I know it's on Amazon Prime and stuff like that. If you got that, well, which I don't know how different our primes and stuff are, but I know that it's on there.
yeah, I've got some really good. Well, I like that. It's called a Quiet Place to Kill. Another giallo from like the late 60s. I think it's the late 60s.
Never heard of that one. I'll have to check that out.
I think it's set in. Obviously it's Italian, but it's set in France. You know, it's a typical sort of giallo setup. Couple plotting, deceiving. People get the sex bots are back as well.
Oh, they are. Jamie, take care of that. Or Orc. I think Orc's got a wrench. Come on. All right, Jamie's got it. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, the Italian. That's a whole that's the whole because not only you got the giallos and the zombie stuff from Fulci and House by the Cemetery, Gates of Hell, stuff like that, but you got these like American ripoffs of like Jaws, Terminator, even zombie, like in Italy, whatever, Italian, it was branded Dawn of the Dead 2, Zombie 2, which was what Dawn of the Dead was called over there. So that they really didn't care when it came to that kind of stuff as far as ripoffs. But Italian cinema, it's very interesting, and it's a good time, I think.
Was Zombie 2 or Zombie? Was it Zombie 2 with the zombie like fighting the shark?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, in the this over, which was this part. This is one I remember from the video store. But in Italy or whatever, it was titled Zombie 2 because it was the sequel to Dawn of the Dead. Because in Italy, Dawn of the Dead was zombie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the one that has the zombie fighting the shark. So, yeah. Let's see. Does anybody like Zombie 3? I don't mind it, but I mean, I own it. I don't know if you've seen that one. They get more ridiculous as they go on.
No, I've not seen Zombie 3.
There's 5 of them.
God.
Yeah. Well, I guess I know it's pretty late. I guess we can what do you got coming up here on your channel?
Well, usual. Tuesday night will be a live stream before Piz's Patreon stream next Tuesday. Myself and Chris have got now the date escapes me, but coming up in the middle of August, we are discussing the pop culture of 1993. So we've done 1996 a couple of weeks ago. So we're gonna kind of like make our way through the 90s, just changing the. We're not going to be like predictable and go 91, 92. We're going to change. Yeah, so we're going to mix things up. So it's 1993, coming up middle of August. The week before that, again, the date escapes me completely, but Friday the 13th, Part 3, 40th anniversary live commentary. That's going to be me, Chris / Home Video, and Griffin. But yeah, basically, yeah. So, and yeah, as always, like every Tuesday night, live stream. So, if you're not subscribed, subscribe.
Exactly. And that was, shoot, I had something else, and I don't remember what it was. It might come back to me, I hope. I don't know. Oh, yes. The chat, we got 15-ish people watching, so if Mike's up for it, if, he ain't too tired, throw out some questions out there and
yes.
We
absolutely,
can answer them up here. If somebody wants to ask. I'm trying to go through the chat. I'm sorry to the chat, but me and Mike's been having great conversation. I just ain't had that time to
I always
watch
miss the
that much.
chat. I always miss the chat. I always
I'm
have to go
usually
back
good
and.
about it, but we've been good. Oh, I forgot to say, Sean McManus is here. Hello, Sean. Haven't seen you in a while.
It's nice to be the guest and not like have to host.
You did not have to go through. All right, Dan's got a question. Gosh damn it, these bots are back, Jamie. These sex bots are back. Looking for a good time. Dan wants to know favorite Hammer films, and I know we both kind of said we weren't massive fans, but is there any you've seen that you are a fan of? At least one.
Right, okay. I'm not sure the title, but it's something to do with like a tower by the sea with like an evil sort of like. It might be Twins of Evil. I'm not sure.
That sounds good. I will say for me, my favorite is the Vampire Lovers, which now I haven't seen many, so the Vampire Lovers is one, and I guess I gotta say for like recent because I guess Hammer is back in a way. Um, they did Let Me In and The Lodge more recently, so um, there's some of them. Um, yes, and I guess it was Twins of Evil. He says that. Uh, Chris wants to know what your favorite Elm Street is, and while you answer that, I've got to take care of something real quick. I hope you can answer that till I get back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Favorite Elm Street probably part one, but I do love two as well. Nostalgia one, two, just for like the whole, just the batshit craziness of it. It feels really weird talking because like there's no background noise, so I feel like I'm not talking to anyone at all now. Orc says, "What, Mike? What are your things you love most about America?" And fucking hell, Orc, where do I start? Just like America, fucking fantastic. Breakfasts, fantastic. Just diners, fantastic. The fucking movies you've produced, fantastic. Just everything about America is just fantastic. Well, most of it, not everything. I mean, you know, give or take. I mean, fuck California off. That can just fuck right off. California's just a fucking cesspit. Yeah, Los Angeles can just go and fucking just stick Los Angeles in the fucking ocean and just drown. Everyone in Los Angeles can just drown, but everybody else outside California, you're all good. Especially Kentucky. Kentucky on point. A lot of Kentuckians in the community, so you've got to be good guys. You've got it, haven't you? And Maine, of course, obviously Maine and Texas. Yeah, just not fucking California. Fuck off. You fucking freaks. I'm gonna end up getting this fucking stream pulled because we're gonna start like chatting shit about fucking how California's full of fucking weirdos and shit. Oh god, what's he done? Let me free on the stream. Yeah,
Sorry,
California.
sorry
Okay,
about that.
yeah. I was gonna say I'm gonna get your stream pulled because I'm just saying how fucking you guys. Are you from Kentucky?
What is it?
Are you from Kentucky, Jake?
No,
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from Kentucky. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
was just saying. No, I was just basically saying how a lot of people in the community, like guys from Kentucky, saying how Kentucky is like a cool place. But then I just basically went on a rant about California being full of freaks.
Oh no, no. You see,
Like,
you're right about that. Like, yeah, no, you're right about that. I would agree. It's I don't know. It's just different, a lot different. It's like it's life's real slow around the South here, Bible Belt,
I
all
like
that good
it.
stuff. But it's good time. Let's see. What was your favorite Elm Street? If I didn't miss, if you just want to say real quick,
Uh,
I know you already said it, but
well, it's one or
one.
two based on
Okay.
mood, basically.
Yeah, I'll agree. I love two though. Two has become man my favorite. It's fantastic. Um, let's see. Okay, Orc. What are your thought? Wait, what are the things you love most about
I've,
America?
I just answered that question.
Oh, you did. Okay. Okay. And Christmas, know if you've ever had biscuits and gravy. Do you know
Have
what
I
that
had
is?
what?
Biscuits and gravy.
No, that's
No, you
not a
don't know
British.
what that is?
That is not a British thing.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing here in the South. We like
Biscuits and
greasy
gravy.
stuff. You think of a
Jesus.
food and we'll cook it in grease. Like Oreos and Twinkies, we'll cook them in grease and eat them. Uh, but let's see. God save the Queen. There you go, work. Still while I got you here, I kind of want to ask, it's kind of off the genre of horror, but I'm just curious because I know what it did in the States and what it did for me as a kid growing up. But was the fandom or the popularity of Harry Potter in the UK as big as like what it was here in the
Yeah,
States? It
yeah,
was okay.
yeah,
Just a worldwide thing, I imagine.
yeah. It's just kind of like before the first film was made. I think it was just maybe I can't remember exactly when it was, but maybe around the time after the second book had come out, or maybe the third book, it started making waves, and then everyone was talking about it, and then I seem to remember it was the fourth book. Now I can't remember like what the correlation was between the books and the movies, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Goblet of Fire was released as a book. Now I'm not I don't know what year that was. It's probably early 2000s.
It had to be because if memory serves, like I'm wanting to say 96, 97
I think
seems about
97. I think
was
97 was the first book,
yeah,
maybe, or 96.
yeah.
But I don't know at what point when the first movie came out in 2001, was
Mm-hmm.
it?
Oh, that sounds about
But
right. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure where they were up to with the books at that point. But I just remember when Goblet of Fire, Goblet is it the fourth book? Goblet of Fire,
Goblet of Fire is
it's the
the
fourth book.
fourth book. Yes.
I remember by the time that came out, the fourth book, there was like the kids were just like queuing up round the block, for miles to get that book. And at that point, that was when Harry Potter had become like just like this phenomenon,
I know.
But
Yeah.
I don't know where the films were up to at that point. I don't know whether the first film would come out, but
I want to say 2001 seems like
but I'm just wondering when did Goblet of Fire come out as a book? Because
Goblet.
that's to me when it was become that's when it became like just next level.
Uh, I'm you see because I think there was. Let me see if I can get a year here for this book. Because for me, I from the first one, 2000 was when Goblet of Fire came out.
Right, yeah, that makes sense then
Yeah,
because the year before the film.
yeah, and
Yeah, so
yeah, I just want to ask. I don't know how often it is I'm gonna talk to somebody from the UK because that's that's a big part of my childhood are them books and them movies, and it just had a massive. It's just weird to think about now. Like, will a book ever like that, or like even like Twilight, or like me growing up, Goosebumps and Harry Potter, are books ever like that going to have a massive impact on kids today as what they did on us? I don't think so. I really don't.
I think that may be the last sort of generation of you yourself, maybe the last generation of books. Those Harry Potter books that impacted the way they did was just before the internet really took off as well. So I think that may be the last we see of that sort of impact, maybe. Because
Yeah.
people now, especially now, because people like with Kindle and they can just download the book now. They can get is it like Kindle Unlimited where they don't even have to buy, so they could essentially read the book and not. It's like renting in a way, and then
Yeah.
just like so, how would they even know whether they've read? It's not like a sale, so somebody could read the book and you'd never know you know. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
no. I just think it's something that dawned on me. I'm like, man, because having kids does something to you, I think. And one of my things is, and I know that it's not going to happen for everything, but there's in some ways I want my child to experience some of the stuff that I experienced. So, like for example, I've been going back to like flea markets, whatever, and anytime I see a Goosebumps book, or which I already have all the Harry Potter books, or stuff from when I was a kid, I'll buy them up because she's at that age now; she can read and and see if she enjoys what I enjoyed as a kid. Just kind of keep some of that alive in my own head, I guess. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But
absolutely.
but yeah. Well, it was great having you on here,
No, it's
and
been a pleasure, man. Been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
it's been a good conversation. I think, and I feel like we're definitely gonna have to do it again down the road sometime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Really,
Um,
really, really enjoyed it. You've kept the you've kept the flow going really well, man. Really,
I, I
it's
appreciate.
not.
I wasn't this. This is the first time I've kind of like done a one-on-one like this, so I was kind of worried about
No,
how that
it's
was gonna go.
you've done a really good job, man. It's like it's been a really good conversation. I think I think the chat have really enjoyed it as well.
I hope so because I haven't been. This is the first time I haven't paid attention to the chat, but I've just been having a good time chatting with you, and it's just interesting to hear opposite sides of the world.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just interesting. Things we had you didn't have, or the things y'all had we didn't have, and stuff like that. But definitely have to do it again. And then I guess let's see. We got old AF reviewers in here. What's going on? I'm doing well. Um, Chat's been pretty good. Orc says this is a fun to listen to. Have a good Saturday morning, Mike. Yeah, it is Saturday morning for you,
it
isn't it?
is now. It is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Jamie, Mike's awesome. Heart.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you,
Um,
Jamie.
and I want to thank everybody. We had a pretty good crowd overall. Kind of go through here. Chris from Flasher Home Video is in here. Thank you for watching. Orc, Jay, Dan Shine, Miss Erica, Bunny Army, ODF Reviews, Big Crack Rock, Sean McManus, Jamie Hart, and I didn't mean if I for sexy bot. He was in here. Big T was in here. Ben Grimm. So thank everybody for watching. And before I go here, I want to say that I won Horror YouTuber of the Month, and I want to thank everybody who voted and all that. And I nominated pretty much the same guys that we're up against. So um, Mike is a nominee. So I encourage everybody to go and sub to Mike's channel. Um, I know a lot of us kind of carry the same audience, but if for whatever reason you're on my channel and you're not subbed to Mike, go over there and sub to him and vote for him for Horror YouTuber of the Month. I'm sure he would appreciate that. And Mike, do you got anything in closing that you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I mean I'll say what I said closing my last stream on Tuesday night. This community's fucking safe, man. It's like I've said it twice. I said it 3 times. I say it 4 times. You know, I've been on streams watching with someone with like 1,000, 2,000 subs, with like 4 people watching. But you jump on our community, and there's people with like less than 100 subs, like myself, or your channel is growing, but it's still a small channel. But
Yeah,
yourself. There's always like 15, 20 people to watching. You don't, as I say, it's like the number of people watching to the number of subscribers is like a really good indicator how strong the community is. And I've been on other I've been in other streams where, with channels with like 2,000, 3,000 subscribers, and they've had less people watching than what we've got. And it's like, it doesn't, you're kind of thinking, why? What? Something doesn't correlate. But I can only assume it's because the community isn't strong and everyone's just abandoned them. But like this, like say, this community is a strong community. Everybody always backs each other. Everyone's always in each other's streams and commented, and yeah, I just love it, man. It's
Yeah.
just a really good.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I'll say this, even though I know he doesn't like taking credit for it, but he's going to get all the credit that he deserves. Lauren, if I don't know if it was for Lauren, I can say personally for myself, I don't know if it was for
Mm.
Lauren. I don't know how you feel about it, but if it wasn't for Lauren, I don't know if all of us would have gotten together in the same and had built this little community that we got, because it is a great community. A lot of these guys I've I've met and done streams with, and can call some of them friends now. And it is a great community, and no matter, I don't care if subs don't matter. It's just engagement and growing the community and everybody getting along and being there for each other, because that's the biggest thing I think is like
So,
helping
so,
each.
so it's subscribers are kind of irrelevant in terms of
Yeah.
engagement is the all important factor. Subscribers is just a number. I mean, I'm subscribed to about 3,000 YouTube channels. I engage with about 10 of them. You know, it's like
Yeah.
how many? I mean, we all do that. We subscribe to a YouTube channel, like, and then over the years, we just don't bother to unsubscribe from them. We never engage with them. It's like I'm engaged with about like 5% of the channels I'm subscribed to, and they're all pretty much part of this community. And just to reinforce what you said about Lorne's channel, that was one of the reasons. I mean, to be fair, I mean, obviously, Piz's Patreon streams. That's where I kind of like got the courage to go on to go. I mean, before I became a patron of Piz's channel, I had never no intention of ever going online and putting my face in front of a camera. And like going on his Patreon stream gave me the courage, but it kind of didn't like that gave me the courage to go online, but it wasn't the push for me to do my own channel because Piz was like this massive YouTuber with like
Mm-hmm.
thousands of subscribers. It was seeing people like Jay and like Smalls Adores, like Corey, people like that with smaller channels who were just doing live streams with you know and getting friends on board and doing and just the interaction with those guys. That's kind of like what gave me the push to do it, because these were guys who didn't have massive channels but were just putting these live streams out every week. And I was like thinking, it's like, and it's not throwing shade at Corey and Jay, but it's like they weren't massive YouTubers like Piz is. And I was like
Yeah.
thinking, well, if these guys are just putting out content, I think what I'll just fuck it, I'll just have a go. It's like I discovered StreamYard. I was like, fuck it, I'll just try it myself, and you know, and then discovered, just made friends through the whole thing. So
Yeah. That's yeah, I mean, I think that's what it's all about for me anyways. Because honestly, and I've been contemplating whether, to continue doing anything, and tonight with you and the conversation we've had, I've really enjoyed it. So I think I'm gonna stick it out a little bit longer on the YouTube. But I want to thank like Jamie's always there. Um, any stream that I've done, I know pretty much anyone, Jamie's always there. So I definitely want to thank her um, for being around, and hopefully one of these days I can get you on here and we can talk. But this community is great. So, but for me, tomorrow night, same time as we started tonight, which would be 6 Central, 7 Eastern. I'm going to have Chris Slasher Home Video on here, and we're going to do a little chatting tonight too, or that night too.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to point to it. He's somewhere there anyway.
He's somewhere in the chat. I know. Here he is. There he is. There he is. Yeah. You're welcome, Jamie. You're welcome. I'm going to Mike. This conversation with Mike has convinced me. I think I've had a really, really good time chatting. So, but if you ain't got anything else, like I said, tomorrow night, same time, 6 Central, 7 Eastern, I'll have Chris from Slasher Home Video on here. And I encourage everybody to go vote, and don't even go vote if you don't want to go vote. Check out all 4 of these awesome channels. We got Mike that I had tonight, Chris, Slasher Home Video, Cable Channel 11, and the man himself, Visit by Voices 1. Go sub to all of them if you aren't already. But I'm going to play this intro video for the contest one more time, and that'll wrap us up. If you're good there. Good, Mike? Good. Alrighty. If I can find it first. There we are.